Los, I'm gonna give my life story and just try to give people some perspective on what I've been through and what brought me to this point where I am now in my life. When I was born in Los Angeles in Panorama City. I grew up in Northridge. I was in Northridge during the earthquake in 1995. I had very good parents. My dad was a doctor. He was a surgeon, but at that time when I was a little kid, he was in medical school. So I remember my dad would be going to medical school. My mom was a physical therapist, and I would have a nanny take care of me during that time. But they were very good parents. I know that my dad, growing up, he was a good water polo player. He played at Long Beach Wilson, which is a high school that's known for water polo. And he went to UC Santa Barbara for college, and that's where my mom went to college as well, and that's where they met each other. And my dad played water polo at UC Santa Barbara, but my dad didn't get very good grades, but I think he married my mom, and my grandpa my mom's dad was a pediatrician, and he helped my dad get into medical school despite not having the best grades. He got my dad on the wait list at USC, and then got my dad in, and then my dad went to school studying orthopedic surgery, became an orthopedic surgeon. And my dad was always there for me. He did everything with me growing up. And the thing that he did the most with me was basketball. But growing up, I didn't just play basketball. I played soccer. I did baseball. I did every sport except football, because my dad didn't want me to play football because he thought that makes you prone to serious injuries. He didn't want that. But but basically growing up, I was the best at every sport I did. I was the MVP with soccer. I was the MVP with basketball. With baseball, I got MVP. And I was when I would run track, I would get all gold medals and silver medals. And I just remember in the fourth grade, I played on the fifth grade team for my school at Castle Bay Lane Elementary School. It's in the Valley in Porter Ranch. And I was in the fourth grade playing on the fifth grade team. I made the game-winning shot. We won the city championship. And then in the fifth grade, my team, it was the fifth grade, I think. My team went to, or it was the fourth grade or the fifth grade, my team went to AU Nationals in Tennessee. We were 9 years old, and we won the AU National Championship. Then when I was 10, we went to Orlando, and we got fourth place AAU Nationals. And I had coaches saying that I was the best guard in the country. I was a very good shooter, but a big reason why I was such a good shooter was probably because, like I said, my dad. I was just a talented basketball player, but my dad and I would play basketball all the time. So my dad would take me to gyms, and I would shoot around all day. My dad would find gyms, and we would shoot at the gyms. He would find ways to get into gyms. We would sneak into gyms, and my dad and I would just drive around and find places to shoot, either outdoor or indoor. And we did basketball all the time. And I think as a surgeon, my dad was able to work what hours he was going to be doing his job. So for the most part, he would organize things where he would be able to play basketball with me once I get home from school. So every day when I would get home from school, my dad and I would play basketball. So at first we would go and find gyms to shoot at or places to shoot at. My dad got me a little basketball hoop, and I would play on the basketball hoop when I was really little. But then when I was probably fourth grade or fifth grade, my dad made like a half-court basketball court for me with the three-point line and everything. And every day my dad would come home and he would pass to me. He would get the rebounds from me, and he'd pass to me, and I would shoot. And that's what we did all the time. And like I said, I wasn't just playing basketball. I was getting all the gold when I played at public school, Castle Bay. When we did track, I got all gold medals or silver medals. The 100, the 40, the long jump, every single event, and I did every single event. And just in everything I did, I remember I was dominating ever since I was just very little. Everything I did, when we were in PE, everything I would dominate. And then around the 6th grade, I was playing with ARC, and then we didn't place in the AU Nationals. But then I had one of my friends, Malik Story. He played with our. He went on my team at that time. He came on the ARC team in the 6th grade, and his dad was P. Diddy's bodyguard, and then he got me in touch with, he got me on a different team because the ARC team was good, but then the best team at that time was South Coast. So me and Malik and my friend named Tori and Malik came on my team, ARC team in the 6th grade. We moved to play with South Coast. South Coast was the best team in the country at that point. And and I started playing with them. We had Brandon Jennings on the team. And eventually I would play with a lot of players like DeMar DeRozan and a lot of guys who play in the NBA now. But at that time I was playing with them. At one point I played with them on the Bad Boys, which was basically P. Diddy's team, because P. Diddy was his record label's the Bad Boys, and we had that team, and a lot of these guys who I played with ended up playing in the NBA. But I was a very good shooter at this time. I'd be making at least 4 3-pointers a game, just consistently. And that's what I was especially known for. But I wasn't just a really great shooter. I was a good ball handler, everything I was doing. Then I think it was the 7th grade. We went to the AU Nationals. We got 4th place. But I remember I went to a party with South Coast. We had tournaments all over the country. We went to West Virginia. We went to New York. We went to Arizona. We went to Washington. We went everywhere around the country, and we never lost a game. Every game we would win, and we would play teams older than us. We would still win all the championships. And especially when we were playing our own age, we won every championship. Never lost one game, and we're the best team in the country. And I was a starter on the team. I was a starter, and I was scoring a lot, maybe close to 20 points a game. Like I said, making at least 4 3-pointers a game. And then around that time, though, we won a tournament, and then we had a party at one of the players' house, at the coach's son. The coach was very rich, and he kind of funded the team, and his son was on the team. And we went to his house for a party, and then my friend Malik, whose dad was P. Miller's bodyguard, we got in a golf cart, and then he went down the hill, and we were going really fast down a hill. It was a street, and then he turned the golf cart abruptly, and then the golf cart flipped, and then it landed on top of me because I was in the back seat, and it threw me out and then landed on top of me and dragged me down the hill. And it skidded my leg really bad. I had to have probably hundreds of stitches, and I wasn't able to really walk for months. And it could have been really bad. I probably could have died from it, but I was okay. But that kind of screwed me up for a little bit. And a lot of people think because I've talked to people, I bumped into the coach for SEA, Pat Barrett. He's known as one of the biggest coaches in the country. A lot of these NBA players played with him, and I ran into him I think it was 2019 when I was playing with Compton College, and he was like, "Yeah, Ryan," he was like, you were a really big player, but it was after that golf cart injury, that's when things kind of went downhill." And I think a lot of people think it was that golf cart injury, but it wasn't, and I'm going to get to that. But I think that did hurt me a little bit, but that wasn't what the problem was. So that I had that golf cart injury, but I came back from it. It took a little while, And then at that point, I started playing with ARC. But at the same exact time of that golf cart injury, and this is why people think it was a golf cart injury that messed me up. At that same exact time, this was 7th grade, my dad bought something called a shoot-away machine, and he put it in the backyard. Like I said, at that time, I was considered one of the best shooters in the country. I was making at least 4 3-pointers a game. Having games, I was making 7 3-pointers, stuff like that. I was on the best team in the country. We were winning every championship, and I was considered one of the best guards in the country. Like I said, before that, I had won an AU national championship. I had coaches tell me that I was the best guard in the country. I had coaches say that I would definitely play in the NBA, all that stuff. So I was doing very well. The golf cart injury happened. We went to AU nationals. We got 4th place. I always was a starter on South Coast until the golf cart injury, and then I wasn't starting because I could barely move for a long time. But I was still playing decent. And then we got 4th place in AU Nationals. That was in Orlando again. And then after that, at the same exact time, my dad got the shoot-away machine. He put it in the backyard. Now, the thing was, I was a very good shooter, and I know the reason I was such a good shooter was because I was not aware at all of what I was doing. And that's what made me so good, was I was completely unconscious. I know that every time when I would go into a game, I'd be extremely nervous. And the reason why I would always be extremely nervous was because I knew that I had no idea what I was doing. It was almost like, I guess one way to explain it would be like, because I wasn't in control at all, it's like, you could say like maybe God's in control, but I would go into each game, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know why I'm a good shooter. I don't know anything. I'm just going in there and just completely spontaneous, not aware of what's going on. But one reason why I was such a good shooter, though, another reason was because my dad would tell me, do not shoot like the coaches tell you to shoot. Because coaches always tell players to shoot square. That's the way that all the coaches would talk when I was younger. They would say, shoot square, or square up to the basket. But when I was young, I would always shoot what my dad would call sideways. And that's why I was such a good shooter. And now people are aware of that. When I was young, people weren't aware of that. But when you look at Steph Curry, you look at all these players, they shoot what's called sideways. I'm not going to go into details what that means. But my dad was smart. My dad, maybe because he played water polo, he knew, like, he had some awareness of athletics. So he noticed when I was young, I was an extremely good shooter. And he noticed that I would shoot, quote unquote, sideways. So my dad would tell me, continue to shoot sideways. But I didn't really know what he was talking about exactly because, like I said, I was unconscious. But I would make myself go sideways and shoot. But I still wasn't aware of what my feet were doing and what I was doing exactly because I was very unconscious. But I was aware of that, shoot sideways. Like, it's hard to explain how I didn't know exactly what I was doing, but I still didn't know what I was doing, but I did know I was shooting sideways. And that's the thing is, like, I know that it was all because of my dad, because I remember I would go to, when I was playing with South Coast, I remember when I first started playing with them, the coach was like, Ryan, you shoot very sideways, like, shoot square. Like, he told me that, but then my dad was like, do not listen to the coach. You're the best shooter in the country, shoot sideways. So I was like, okay, and I didn't listen to the coach, and I kept shooting the way I shot, and I kept being the best shooter. Because a lot of times coaches don't know what they're talking about. But my dad was aware of that. So I would shoot sideways, and I would shoot really well. Now, my dad got the shoot-away machine. And with the shoot-away machine, what it is a big net that goes around the rim. So when you shoot the ball, it bounces off, however you miss it, or if you make it, and it falls in the net, and then it rolls down the net, and then it rolls down a rack, and then the ball goes back to you. Now, my dad watched a documentary by Michael Jordan, and Michael Jordan was like, I shoot 500 shots a day. To be the best, you have to shoot 500 shots a day. So my dad was like, okay, well, we got to get this, it's difficult to shoot 500 shots a day, and, my dad's getting old. He doesn't want to be rebounding. He would rebound for me and pass to me all the time, but he was like, if I can get this shoot-away rack, you can get 500 shots a day easy. So my dad's thinking, this is a great idea. I'm going to get this shoot-away machine, and you're going to get 500 shots a day. You're going to be like Michael Jordan. And I thought the same thing. I'm like, okay, this is awesome. Yeah, get this shoot-away machine. I had a friend who had the shoot-away machine too. And now when I look back at it, I remember my friend who had it. He had 2 older brothers. 2 of them, they both played Division II basketball. But I remember they were good shooters, but they had really weird shots. And I know why. It's because of the shoot-away machine. But they were good shooters, but I know the way that they shot, and everybody was aware of it. Like, they shot weird, and I know why. I'm not going to explain the details why, but looking at it now, I have a lot of awareness of how good shooters shoot and why good shooters shoot that way and stuff like that. And I could really go into details. I don't, because I don't want to make good shooters think too much. But I could go into details in specifics. And if I ever talk to my dad about it, which I do want to do someday, I will explain to him exactly the specifics. But with you guys, I'm not going to go into specifics about the way good shooters shoot, because I don't want to make people think too much who might be good shooters. So basically at this, and it took me a long time to figure out how good shooters shoot, because I had to look at videos, and I'm going to get to that later. And I had to study, and I had to see what was it that I was doing before I had the shooting machine and what was it that I was doing after, because it took me a very long time to even know that it was a shooting machine that messed up my shot. It was all the way up until my second year of college. I thought the shooting machine, if anything, was a good thing that maybe helped me. I had no idea that that was the problem. And like I said, I've talked to people like Pat Barrett, the coach for SCA, and he told me, well, yeah, Ryan, it was that golf cart injury that messed you up. No, it wasn't. It was at the same exact time I had that golf cart injury was the same exact time my dad got the shoot away machine. So my dad put the shoot away machine in the backyard. I'm shooting the ball. It's bouncing in the net. It's rolling down the rack. I'm picking the ball off of the rack, and I'm shooting. Now, this is another reason why my dad wasn't aware that it was a shooting machine. At the same exact time, and I know that I think this is what he thinks, and this is probably why he discounts, or he doesn't talk to me about it, because I think my dad wanted me to start shooting overhead. And I was a great shooter, shooting at my chin level. But, as players get older, they start shooting higher because it's harder to block. And I would shoot at my chin level. Now, at the same exact time my dad got the shooting machine, my dad was like, Ryan, start shooting overhead. Because, a lot of good players, as they get older, they start shooting higher. So I'm picking the ball off the rack, and I'm shooting a little bit higher, and I'm shooting the ball. Now, I think that my dad thinks that my shot started getting messed up because in his mind, he's probably just thinking, no, the reason why your shot got messed up was because at this time you started shooting overhead, and you're not, maybe he thinks that that I wasn't able to make the adjustment, that I wasn't able to change. But a lot of players are able to do it. I know that I was an unconscious player, and I would have automatically aligned to what was perfect, and I did. Even when I was shooting at that time, it took a while for the shoot away machine to really, really screw things up, and I'll get into that. But I'm shooting overhead at the same time as I got the shooting machine. So I'm already changing my shot. So my dad, I think that he wasn't able to put two and two together and see that the shoot away machine was the problem, because I think it was because I was changing my shot at the time, shooting higher, and he probably thought that was the problem. So he's telling me, okay, shoot overhead and pick the ball off this rack and shoot 500 shots a day. So I'm shooting 500 shots a day. And even at this time, this is the 8th grade, I was still the best. Like in the 7th grade, I was an MVP. We won the championship at Harvard Westlake. And I was scoring a lot. In the 6th grade, I was playing with Sierra Canyon, and I was scoring over 20 points a game playing on the 6th grade team. I was in the 6th grade playing on the 7th grade team, and I was scoring over 20 points a game, and I was considered one of the best players in the country. Then when I was in the 7th grade playing at Harvard Westlake, I was still good, but my shot was getting a little bit messed up. But you have to remember, I was considered one of the best players in the country. Then in the 8th grade, I'm scoring 30 points, 40 points a game. My shot's messed up, but I'm doing that. So people are thinking, wow, Ryan's really good. But they didn't realize that I was doing very well, but I actually really wasn't, because my shot was really messed up, and I know what was the problem. So in people's minds, I'm scoring 30 points, 40 points a game, but they didn't know that I was considered the best player in the country growing up, that I won an AU national championship. Coaches saying that I'm going to be playing in the NBA. I'm the best player in the country. So if they're seeing me scoring 30, 40 points, they're like, yeah, this guy's amazing. This guy's really good. But they didn't realize that there was something really bad going on, and that was that my shot was getting messed up. And it was because of the shoot away machine. So I'm going to get into details on that. But this is 20 minutes at this point. I'm going to stop the video at this point, and I'll continue on with it.